Canelo Alvarez, Terence Crawford. Is the biggest fight the sport of boxing can make. Is it finally happening in September of 2025? Reportedly so. The Ring magazine has reported that His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh has, finalizing a deal for Canelo Alvarez to fight Terence Crawford in Las Vegas, Nevada in September of 2025 around Mexican Independence Day. This is exciting news for boxing fans. This is probably one of the biggest fights that the sport has put on in the 21st century. Canelo Alvarez, the face of boxing for the last 10 years, following the retirement of Floyd Mayweather. Terence Crawford, arguably the greatest boxer of the last 10 years. Him and Alexander Usyk are in that conversation. Terence Crawford is one of the very few men to be undisputed in multiple weight classes in the four-belt era. Terence Crawford is just a fantastic fighter, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he can do against Canelo Alvarez if this fight takes place. Terence Crawford historically throughout his career has fought at a much smaller weight class than Canelo Alvarez. Canelo Alvarez fights at 168. He's been there for quite some time now. Terence Crawford has been fighting at 147. He just had his most recent fight at 154 pounds. And he didn't look like the Terence Crawford we're used to seeing. He fought, Madrimov at 154 pounds. Madrimov gave everything that Crawford could handle, probably the toughest fight of Terence Crawford's career, especially in recent years. That was at 154 pounds. Canelo, much bigger guy. Canelo's a really strong guy. But Canelo's towards the end of his career, he has slowed down. That's been a narrative over the last, several years. He's not as fast as he used to be. He gets tired late in fights. He doesn't throw the jab all that often. Canelo Alvarez is not a volume puncher. He just loads up on his shots and tries to hurt you with every shot he throws, which, could really spell doom for a smaller guy like Terence Crawford. But Terence Crawford's a very strong guy himself. We saw what he did to Errol Spence. Terence Crawford is a freak athlete. But how is this fight going to play out? Does this fight happen? Why is this fight happening? This is Terence Crawford daring to be great. And I think what makes this fight, so intriguing for Terence Crawford is that this would mark the end of his career. Terence Crawford is a fantastic fighter. He's a switch hitter. He can go from both stances, quite easily. And he is just a handful for fighters to deal with. But no one's really fought him until Errol Spence. That was his biggest fight of his career. Terence Crawford spent a lot of time with Bob Arum at Top Rank, and they just were unable to promote Terence Crawford for the incredible talent he is and to get big fights with Terence Crawford. Once he left Top Rank, he went on to fight Errol Spence, now Madrimov, when he signed with Turki Al-Sheikh, he's gotten some bigger fights under his belt now. He's about 37 years old. He's towards the end of his career. Undefeated career, remarkable career, Hall of Fame career. He wants one last big payday and ride off into the sunset. And is there a bigger payday in boxing than Canelo Alvarez? Canelo has been headlining pay-per-views for over a decade now. And, Canelo Alvarez is such a special star in this industry. He is the face of this industry. I know Gervonta Davis likes to say he is. He certainly has a strong case. Once Canelo leaves the sport, it likely is Gervonta Tank Davis. It's probably 1A and 1B right there. But Canelo Alvarez, in my opinion, is still the face of the sport, and I don't think that's going to change as long as Canelo's around. Canelo is a fantastic fighter, and there's been a lot of narratives of him slowing down over the years. I think that hand injury that he suffered in that Dimitri Bivol fight, or maybe around the Caleb Plant fight, I'm not too sure. but he ended up revealing that he needed hand surgery following the third Golovkin fight, and said that he heard it in a previous fight. I'm just not sure whether it's Plant or Bivol that he suffered that injury, but he hasn't really looked quite the same since in terms of power. He was knocking guys out left and right on his way to becoming undisputed at 168. And he hasn't had a knockout since he became undisputed against Caleb Plant back in 2021. And Canelo's quite an active fighter. He fights at least twice a year. He's kind of starting to slow down. The last couple years, it seems he gets tired late in fights. That's something that people like to point out. Not a volume puncher, again, dangerous puncher, but not a volume puncher. And Terence Crawford, maybe, just jabbing Canelo all night long. As the fight goes late, maybe he can win this fight. This is Terence Crawford daring to be great, going up, skipping 160 pounds entirely and going up to 168 and, trying to, put an exclamation point on a Hall of Fame career. And this is a fight that would definitively state which of these two fighters are the king of their generation. And that's what makes this fight so intriguing. And this is why Turki Al-Sheikh wants to make this fight. And, it finally seems like it's happening. Canelo and Turki got off to a rocky start. And, it didn't seem like this fight would ever happen and that Canelo would not be working with His Excellency. But, things have kind of changed now, that's where the money fights are. And what is there left for Canelo to accomplish at 168 pounds? Nothing, right? The best fights for Canelo are at 175 pounds, with Bivol, a rematch there, Beterbiev, but those two guys are signed to fight each other in February. And then we have David Benavidez, who everyone's wanted to see Canelo fight for quite some time now. But Canelo seems to not have any interest in David Benavidez. People I know in the boxing industry who, they don't know Canelo, particularly well, but they say that, he is kind of a sensitive guy and he just personally hates David Benavidez and doesn't want to do anything that would help David Benavidez get money or boost his career forward. There's just, Canelo may be a sensitive guy, they've said. But, again, I don't know how reliable that information is, but that is something that I have been told from people in the boxing industry. And, I see it. It makes sense. And Canelo may have his reasons for not wanting to fight David Benavidez that we don't know about, the general public and the fans. I can't tell you what those are. That's anyone guesses. But, as such a long-time Canelo fan and someone who is one of the greatest fighters of all time, I mean, he's beaten 18 world champions, I believe. That would be the third most of all time behind Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao. I don't need to see him fight David Benavidez to know that Canelo is a great fighter. I don't need to see him fight Terence Crawford to know that he's a great fighter. Canelo's great as is, but at 168 pounds, there's really not a lot of interesting fights left for him. 175 pounds, I think he's looked kind of slow there, a little sluggish, not himself. I think that's the good weight for him is 168. I think 175, even though it's just 7 pounds more, he's just a little slower, a little sluggish. I mean, Canelo's a huge guy at 168. He's not a very tall guy, so he just kind of looks bulky at 168 as is. At 175, I think that's just a little too much for him. He's been slower there. I think he's been tired out at 175 pounds. I think 168 is good for him. That was 3 years ago, the last time we saw him at 175 against Dmitry Bivol. So we'll see. But I think 168 is his perfect weight. I think he should stay at 168. But who's there? William Skull. I don't love that fight. I know he's the IBF champion. I think that fight realistically happens in May. I have seen some rumors that Canelo is going to sign a 3-fight deal with Turki Al-Sheikh. So Canelo fights every May, Cinco de Mayo, and every September for Mexican Independence Day. So maybe we see Canelo and Skull. Canelo beats another champion, gets to number 19, closes in on Manny Pacquiao for second place. on the all-time champions beaten list, and then becomes a two-time undisputed champion at 168 pounds, and that's kind of the way to sell that fight, and then make Crawford Canelo for undisputed at 168. Terence Crawford, could he be the first man in history to be a three-division undisputed champion with a win against Canelo? That would be insane. That would put him in the greatest of all time category, definitely in people's top tens. That kind of makes this fight even bigger. But does it need it? Not necessarily. I think this is, at the end of the day, the belts aside, this is for who is the king of their generation. And I really hope this fight happens. I hope these rumors are true. They seem to be true. Turki Al-Sheikh has kind of said that this is not official at this time, but he has hinted that he has talked to both fighters, which is really exciting news. But Canelo Crawford, let me know what you guys think in the comments of this fight. Should this fight happen? Who you think will win this fight? I know Shakur Stevenson really believes that Terence Crawford is the man to beat Canelo Alvarez. But Canelo's a different animal. There's weight classes for a reason, and we'll just see how this plays out. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below, and make sure to follow the Interim Title Show on Instagram at the Interim Title Show. Thank you all for watching.